From Leuven in Belgium, welcome to the GCN show.
Hello and welcome to the GCN show.
Coming up this week, which pro cyclist trains the hardest and how does that compare with other sports people?
Plus, the results are in. You've decided on the hottest kits for 2020 and we have a giveaway. Your chance to join us at a gravel event in Morocco.
This week in the world of cycling, we learned which pro cycling kits really are the hottest for 2020. You voted on the GCN app and pronounced that in first place in the Women's World Tour was Canyon SRAM, second place Boels Dolmans, and third Trek Segafredo. So disagreeing with me slightly about Boels Dolmans, but that's fine, I won't take it too personally.
And when we look at the men's peloton, in first place it was EF, second was NTT, and then third was newcomer Bahrain McLaren.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Now, we also learned this week that despite recent news stories to the contrary, Chris Froome is still training and back at a team camp, even though one of his rides was with his boss, Dave Brailsford.
Now, generally speaking, cyclists do some pretty crazy training, and this is definitely the time of year to be doing it.
Well, that's right. World champion Annemiek Van Vleuten, perhaps not wanting to be outdone by Tour de France winner Egan Bernal's Colombian epics recently, has also been absolutely smashing it. The Mitchelton-Scott team training camp has basically looked like a mini Grand Tour, and perhaps the biggest day of all was day 6, where they did 235 kilometres with 4,500 metres of ascent in 8 hours.
Now, whereas Bernal didn't clock up a single Strava KRM on his Colombian epic, Annemiek Van Vleuten knocked out a frankly astounding 47.
Yeah, not a bad day's work, and good for the morale in January, I'd think. Now, Van Vleuten, interestingly, is something of a statistical outlier in the women's peloton, for now at least, because a piece of research caught our eye recently in the International Journal of Physiology and Sports Performance.
Big fan of that one, Si.
Well, it's quite relevant, isn't it? Now, the research was from a trio of Dutch academics who looked at a whole bunch of male and female professional cyclists, and they found that the workload between men and women was actually similar, but when you look at it in terms of per kilometre, actually the workload for women was much higher.
So in other words, they rode less, but they rode harder.
Perhaps it's just a reflection of the fact that women's races are still a little bit shorter than men's, but interesting to note nevertheless. And even more interesting actually would be to see whether it pays off for Van Vleuten, because that does seem insanely difficult.
It does, doesn't it? Bernal, though, is also racking up the miles incredibly consistency. Over the last month, his average duration per week, 32 hours. 1,020 kilometres every week on average for the last 4 weeks. That's something special, Si.
That is insane. Well, the good thing about training that hard, Chris, is that he will now be able to go to the Tour de France for a rest.
That's a good point.
Now, a lot of people who I thought would be monster mile munchers have actually turned out to be surprisingly modest. So Thomas de Gent, Mr. Breakaway himself, has actually only been averaging 600 Ks a week for the last month. And Adam Hansen, his teammate, Mr. 49 Grand Tours on the bounce or whatever it was, he apparently didn't even ride his bike before Christmas, preferring to cross-train instead. And when I say cross-train, what I mean is hike across the Himalayas carrying a 17-kilo backpack.
Well, that would have been pretty tough, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Norwegian rider Vegard Langenstaker of the UAE World Tour team is another rider who gets in some seriously savage off-the-bike training, regularly doing long-distance cross-country skis of 30 to 50 kilometres to supplement his bike riding.
That's all in cross-country skiing. Should we see what happens when Dan Lloyd tries to cross-country ski?
Oh, this will be good.
I have come to Andermatt in Switzerland to meet... No. Whoa! Ugh.
Well, about as good as when he's cycling then, I guess. Now, what about Egan Bernal's teammates? Because Ineos are famous from within the pro ranks for their super high volume training weeks. A week in which a steady 6 hours is considered a recovery ride. And no, we are not making that up. Apparently, until very recently at Grand Tours, they'd be doing 5 to 6 hours on rest days just to keep the legs ticking over.
Indeed. A few weeks ago, we mentioned that on their December training camp, a few of the riders completed an entire lap in Mallorca, 310 kilometres in 8 hours and 40 minutes, which is no mean feat whatsoever.
It's not, but we should say, shouldn't we, Chris, that it's not all plain sailing,
No.
even from within the Sky Ineos setup, because a lot of riders, well not a lot, a few riders have gone there and failed to thrive. And perhaps the training has been attributed to being a big part of that. And even their biggest engine, Gianni Moscon, actually had a pretty horrible 2019 for the most part. And he put that down to overtraining when he was out pre-season, funnily enough, in Colombia.
Trying to keep up with Bernal.
Yeah, Bernal stuck the half wheel on him. Well, who knows?
It's important to never forget the golden rule, isn't it? You improve when you rest and not when you train. Or as I like to phrase it, rest is best.
That's right. Although too much rest and not enough training kind of also.
Oh, what about fresh form?
Well, there is a thing, Chris. Right now, at this point, we've probably got to give a bit of a shout out to our new presenter, Connor Dunn, because he famously, and I think I could say that, racked up a 1,400 kilometre week whilst bikepacking in the French Alps with his teammate Larry Warbass. They racked up 26,000 metres of climbing over 42 hours that week, not to mention the amount of times they were stood at the roadside taking pictures, because they were pretty prolific on Instagram.
How did their phone battery survive? Mine barely makes it through a day, and I'm plugged into a charger. Lastly, one rider that we are in no rush to go for a bike ride with is Richie Porte, who last August clocked up an Everesting on the Col de la Madone, 270 kilometres in 14 hours and 20 minutes, which sounds impressive on its own.
It does, yeah.
And then you factor in the 9,000 metres of climbing which he had to achieve to do that. It's frankly bonkers.
It is, yeah. And to be fair to him, that's probably the only reason why we wouldn't be able to go training with him.
Yes.
Because otherwise, it'd be fine, wouldn't we?
Of course.
Absolutely. Now, fairly clear then that professional cyclists are capable of doing some inhumane bike rides, and some of them, like Egan Bernal, do them on a daily basis. But what about other cycling disciplines, like cross-country mountain biking? Well, it seems that it would depend how much you like gym work. Certainly, if you take Scott teammates, world champion Nino Schurter and World Cup champion Kate Courtney, they, in addition to all the work they do on the bike, also do some savage gym workouts. And happily for us, they post videos of them to Instagram. Check this one out of Kate Courtney. Yeah, basically, Chris, my mind is completely blown.
But watching that, don't you feel like you want to have a little bit of a go?
Absolutely, I would love to give that a try.
Coming up on next week's show, have you seen the video where Blake and Neil go and visit Nino Schurter and complete a day of training with him?
Yes, I have the GMBN video. I did watch that, yeah.
I think this is where mountain bikers really put road riders to shame. They couple those savage gym sessions followed by hardcore intervals out on the road or on the mountain bikes as it was afterwards.
Yeah, that is true actually. Not many roadies could do that, could they? Although to be fair to them, both Nino Schurter and Kate Courtney have been completely shown up by Danny McCaskill. In his latest video, he manages to combine both the gym workout and cycling at the same time.
It'll be in one of those time-crunched, time-effective training books soon, won't it?
Yeah.
Probably a little bit out of reach for most of us, that, isn't it? What about triathletes, then, Si? They ride bikes as well.
They do.
But they also do 2 other sports. And then you have to factor in, they practice getting dressed and undressed. I can't think of a more pressurised clothing situation.
No, I can't. It's no wonder that they forget their socks from time to time. Either that or they just run out of clean washing. Because most triathletes will do 3 training sessions per day, 1 for each of the discipline that they have to do in triathlon. And actually, I've heard that world Ironman champ Jan Frodeno actually does 5 sessions a day.
It's no wonder he's quick at getting changed, is it?
Well, it's true that, yeah.
What about Christian Blumenfeld then? Rumoured to do 30 to 35 hours a week, every week.
Yeah. Every single week. And also, to put the whole triathlete thing into context, ex-pro cyclist turned Ironman Cameron Worth actually joined Team Ineos for that lap of Mallorca that we talked about earlier on. But when they got back to the hotel, he put on his running shoes and went out for a 10-kilometre jog.
Bet he swam to the start of the ride as well.
I bet he did as well, just because you got to go swimming and you got to go running every day.
Now, how about marathon runners? They definitely train a little bit less.
They do,
Their average volume is down to around 14 hours a week. But like triathletes, they are big fans of split days. Although, again, like triathletes, they do need to be a little bit more careful about injury prevention than we do as bike riders. And apparently, or as I've recently learnt, it's actually quite hard to go for an easy run. Yeah. Unless you're on roller skates, perhaps.
Well, yes, no coasting down hills, is there, when running? So that's probably partly why you can't rack up the hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, the sports where its participants train the hardest, certainly that I've ever witnessed, is rowing. Okay, so I got to spend a day, or half a day in fact, with GB rowing, and not only was my mind blown, but also I was faintly embarrassed to have once called myself a full-time athlete, because they absolutely put me to shame. So they have to be at GB Rowing's HQ at 5 a.m. every morning, 6 days a week. They do time on the water, first of all, then they have breakfast, then they do a monster gym session, then they have lunch, and then they're back out on the water in the afternoon as well. And then sometimes, just to break things up, they go for an epic bike ride as well.
Wow.
6 days a week.
That's
every
going to
week.
be pretty tiring, that.
Oh
isn't
my
it?
word.
You know what, Si? I think it's actually fair to say that every athlete out there, should I say, is going to push themselves to the limit of what they can do and also what their sport can do. Some athletes will naturally soak up massive training volumes. I mean, take the rowers. They're 7 feet tall and they're all built like Greek gods or goddesses.
Yeah.
And some athletes, like runners, they have to be a little bit more gentle and a little bit more careful in order to make sure they don't, well, just break, really.
Yeah, I guess so. Weird though, isn't it? When a rower competes for like 4 minutes and yet they do a gazillion hours a week, whereas a marathon runner is doing 2 hours plus a little bit more, but yet they're doing 14 hours a week. Whereas I guess it makes sense for cyclists like Bernal to be doing 30 hours a week because that's sometimes what he has to do in order to win the Tour de France. But you're right, I think probably people do whatever they can do, and being part of a Tour de France champion or a world champion, Van Vleuten's case, is that they're able to just train that little bit harder.
Yeah.
You can't really copy him, can you?
You can't, although it's always going to niggle away in the back of your mind that such and such did more training than I did.
Yeah, it's true that. Be very interested to know what you all do actually. What is your biggest ride, and also what is your biggest week? Have you ever racked up pro cyclist S kilometres, or are you a little bit more like me and err on the side of caution? You don't want to overtrain.
Quality over quantity.
That's right.
Eagle-eyed viewers amongst you out there will have noticed that yesterday we launched a brand new channel, GCN auf Deutsch, headed up by ex-pro cyclists Bjorn Theroux and Mario Vocht.
Yeah, super excited about this one, but we have to stay, don't we, Chris? Yeah. We're going to squash any rumours. EM put in the comment section underneath the teaser video that actually he thought the reason we launched it was so that Dan could go to Oktoberfest and put on expenses. No, that's only partly true. Anyway, here is a clip of that teaser vid.
GCN auf Deutsch kommt.
Aus dem Profi-Peloton direkt zu euch auf YouTube, Instagram, Facebook und Co.
In unseren Videos zeigen wir euch Tipps und Tricks rund ums Radfahren, machen Werkstattvideos und werden über aktuelle Themen im Radsport sprechen.
All right, I'm here at Newport Velodrome today because I'm going to do some really important training sessions on the track. I'm a total noob at riding on the track. I've not really done it much, so it's important that I learn these skills. I had a couple of sessions booked in before Christmas, but unfortunately I missed them because I was ill, which made me quite anxious. But I'm here today, so hopefully I'm going to learn a thing or two. This is the black line, the pursuit line. It's 250 meters long, and professionals in the Olympics, they ride it with pinpoint accuracy. They make it look so easy, but it's deceptively hard, especially for a beginner like myself. But if you ride above it and you don't ride it accurately, then you don't get that, well, you travel further, but you don't get that distance, it doesn't count. So you could end up feasibly riding an extra 2-3 laps in an hour record if you don't stick to the black line. So this is a skill that I need to master, and I'm here to do some training sessions to hopefully master it today. But I'm feeling all right. I mean, the sessions Mac and Neil are setting me in Sufferfest, they're going all right. I've done some tough ones the last week or so, but I'm feeling positive about it, so I'm gonna crack on.
Right, it's now time for GCN Inspiration, that part of the show where you send in your inspirational cycling photos, either via the GCN app or the uploader, or using the hashtag GCN Inspiration, and we pick out the best 3 who each week will win a prize. This week, 3rd place is a GCN casquette. 2nd place, it is the matching jersey, and then 1st place, we've got not only a super cool GCN jersey, but also the matching base there as well. How good is that?
Right, let's get straight into 3rd place. In 3rd place, we have Adnan from Croatia, who after a hard day at work pushed themselves to go for a ride, even though they were tired and it was freezing cold outside. Totally worth it though, as look at this rewarding view.
That is seriously nice, isn't it? It doesn't look freezing either, doesn't it? You know, that looks like a very nice winter cycling photo.
Also looks very dry.
It does. That makes me want to go ride my bike. Tick, GCN Inspiration, done. Right, a GCN casquette winging its way to you. In 2nd place then, we've got this one sent in by
Rogie Con.
Rogie Con, yeah, thanks for helping me out with that one. Anyway, this was sent in from Ireland, from Killarney, County Kerry. A beautiful winter's day in the Black Valley. That does look beautiful.
Yeah.
It also looks surprisingly like it does in May there when I rode the Ross like 7 times or whatever. That's pretty much what it looked like every day too.
I like Ireland.
Amazing.
I think that's beautiful.
I do too. Right, that is that GCN jersey coming your way. Right, who's the winner then this week, Chris?
And the winner is Mac Ion. The scenery alone may calm your elevated heart rate. This is part of a 6K long uphill route in the Philippines. Look at that.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
That is amazing, isn't it?
It is really, I like to see the green and a bit of sunlight side. Because I don't feel like we get a lot of that at the moment.
No, we don't. That is inspirational. Right, okay, there we go. Those are your 3 winners for this week. If you want to get involved for next week, as I said at the beginning, the GCN app is probably your best place to do so, but of course the uploader as well, or indeed the hashtag GCN Inspiration.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
Cycling shorts now, and we're going to start with some stats from the USA. According to MarketWatch, the number of cyclists between the ages of 60 and 79 has recently quadrupled.
Yeah, and that makes them, that age range, the fastest growing cycling demographic. You gotta say, Chris, it's not a big surprise, I guess, because the health benefits of cycling and endurance sport generally are becoming increasingly well known. Plus, for a lot of people of that age, got a lot of time to train, to basically replicate Egan Bernal or Annemiek Van Vleuten's training.
And plus
Brilliant.
more time to sit in the coffee shop afterwards as well.
Absolutely.
Now,
Yeah.
there's some more statistics coming from the USA, and that's to do, well, it's nothing to do with cycling. It's from a much younger demographic as well. It's to do with driving side.
That's right, or lack thereof.
Indeed.
The Department of Transport have recently published their annual figures, and it shows that the amount that people are driving per capita has actually plateaued, okay? And the number of commuting trips by car has also begun to fall. Now, while this has happened a couple of times in recent decades, it's always been linked to poor economic performance of the country, whereas this time, that's not the case. It seems to be bucking the trend.
Spearheaded by the youth, moving to urban areas and buying fewer cars.
That's right. But you've got to say, haven't you, that the accident figures for cycling in the US have taken a turn for the worse recently. But you've got to hope, haven't you, that if this is representative of a wider trend of transport in the US, then maybe it could hint that things are going to be getting better for cyclists relatively quickly.
A bit like the $18 million of investment into cycle powers in Philadelphia. That's the sort of news we want to see more of, isn't it?
That is true. Now, changing tack slightly, I saw this on Cycling Industry News. Researchers from Monash University in Melbourne think that they may have made a breakthrough in battery technology.
Based around lithium sulfur, they potentially offer up to 5 times the battery life of the current lithium-ion batteries, meaning e-bikes could be set for all-day epics.
That's right. Plus, they should also be cheaper to produce and, most importantly of all, be greener and cleaner to produce as well, less harmful to the environment.
Not linked to e-bikes now, but perhaps equally as polarising is the news that Bjarne Riis is back in the World Tour, having become part owner of Team NTT.
That's right. So Riis and his company Virtue Pro Cycling have been running a very successful women's team for the last couple of years, but they failed to find a major backer for 2020. And that, coupled with the fact that the Tour de France is starting in Riis's home country of Denmark next year, meant that he has tried to find a way back into the Men's World Tour.
Although it is as yet unclear whether he will actually be playing an active role in the day-to-day running of the team, you can't help but wonder if NTT are going to be hoping that he's some of that magic stuff up his sleeve still to try and turn the team around after a couple of underperforming seasons.
That's right. It's going to be interesting, that one, isn't it?
It is.
Now, from NTT to one of the world's most successful teams, De Koning Quickstep, who have announced that they will be pouring their energy into becoming the world's first carbon-neutral professional cycling team.
They calculated that their annual carbon footprint is 1,288 tonnes, and that to offset it is going to take a variety of measures, including supporting certified climate projects.
Yeah, you got to say, hugely commendable from De Koning Quickstep. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Such a green pursuit, cycling, but yet the pinnacle of our sport could potentially be doing more, like De Koning, certainly by setting a good example. But to put it in context, I had a look actually, and Manchester United Football Club proudly announced last year that they had reduced their carbon footprint by 2,000 tonnes. So goodness knows what it still is, but I'd expect pretty high.
Well, it's been estimated that one European Championship final from 110,000 fans created 35,000 tonnes of carbon.
Wow, that is a lot.
That's insane.
Although, does also make you think then, doesn't it, about what 1 million cycling fans on Alpe d'Huez are generating. Probably quite a lot. Anyway, let's stick with professional cycling just for a moment. You remember that we announced very happily last week that Pauline Ferrand-Prévot was back in the game. But unfortunately, no sooner had we said that, but she was back in surgery for a follow-up procedure to the one she had earlier last year.
But before you say it's a case of the GCN curse, technically the operation was before the show had gone out.
Yes.
We also need to wish Marianne Vos a huge get well soon, as she's had surgery to correct an ongoing artery problem. She'll be out for around 6 weeks.
Yeah. Now, if you follow GCN on Instagram, you may well have come across our hashtag Ride365, which has a very pleasing ring to it, I think you'll agree.
It does a little bit, but what is it? Well, we're not actually going to be riding our bikes every single day of the year, but at least one presenter will be riding their bikes on every single day this year. And the whole idea behind it is to show you where we're riding, what we're up to, and to try and inspire you to get out on your bike at home as well.
Yeah. Do you know what? It seems to be working. I can't speak for the rest of the viewers, but certainly it's inspiring Lloydie, who has been racking up some serious kilometres since the new year, perhaps spurred on by his adventure in December, where, we've got to say at this point, a huge thank you to all of you who sponsored him. It was actually a pretty impressive effort on Dan's part. I can say this because he's not here, but for Dan to go from 0Ks to 1,500 in a month was pretty awesome, but not half as awesome as the £28,000 that you lot raised for World Bicycle Relief. So huge thank you for that. Amazing.
Yeah, massive effort all round. And before you say it, we do know that this year is indeed a leap year, and there are 366 days. So we need your help to decide what we should do on that extra day.
Can it be something nice, please?
Yeah, that would
Let
be
us know in
good.
the comments. But
You
yeah.
can get another spray tan.
Yeah, I could, yeah. I mean, I could probably normally fit those in with my riding as well, but I just don't tend to.
And if you do want to get involved, the hashtag is for you too. So make sure you use that and send it in to us.
That's right, come and join us. Well, you can, of course, come join us. Although the GCN event in Mallorca is sold out, we have the GCN Festival coming in the summer. But more than that, we also now have the opportunity for you to win in our latest giveaway, courtesy of Gravel Epic. This is amazing, Chris, right? So they're promoting a gravel event in Morocco, of all places, and they are offering up very generously a GCN viewer plus a friend to go on a pretty much trip of a lifetime. So not only will you be able to ride the gravel event itself, it doesn't have to be you plus a riding buddy. It could be you and a non-riding partner, because they've thrown in all sorts of cool stuff like hot air balloon rides, stuff like that, plus hotels and indeed flights up to a value of £1,000. So pretty much from any corner of the world, you'd think, wouldn't you, can get to Morocco for that?
That sounds absolutely dreamy, Si.
Super cool, yeah. And of course, GCN will be there as well, getting to take part. We don't know who yet, because we haven't actually played rock, paper, scissors, so we don't know who's going to be the lucky presenter, but I'm hoping it's me.
It's now time for this week's hack/bodge. And first up, we have Rob, who has an Orbea DM, which he's adapted into a flat-barred road bike commuter.
Ooh, nice.
Including adapting some Shimano Di2 sprint shifters into climbing flat bar shifters, which is pretty clever.
How neat would that be? Those things are tiny, aren't they?
Yeah, you bet you can't even see them, actually. Full mud guards on there as well.
That's
Perfect daily bike.
That's a hack, I think, Chris.
Definite.
Absolute hack. Yeah, very smart. Okay, we've got this from S. Dos Santos. He said he spotted this at the local McDonald's. Road handlebars, extended seat post. All you need is some clipless pedals on there. I've got to say, it's not often you see quite such an aggressive looking kid's bike. It's quite a big saddle to bar drop going on there.
It is, and for that alone, I think it should be a hack.
Yeah, I also like that skin wool tyre at the back. If they were matching, that would be one seriously cool looking bike.
It's also really hard to get a kid's bike in that size with road bars.
True that.
So, come on.
That front brake though, Chris, that is a bodge.
Okay. I'll leave it at that. Big Left next, who has been testing out some different saddles over recent years, ended up breaking his seat post clamp and is now using a stem to clamp his seat post into the frame. Now, I didn't know this was possible, Si.
No, I didn't either. I mean, that is ingenious. You probably wouldn't want to spend much time on there, but as he said, it got him out of a sticky situation mid-Zwift workout. So, but once you see it on there, you kind of think, well, there's potentially a lot of uses for a rear-facing stem, aren't there? Like, you know, could that be fashioned in some kind of pannier rack or mudguard, or I don't know, it could clamp something, couldn't it?
I feel like you've created a genius invention there. I'm just worried about what you're using to steer your bike with. Otherwise, it's a hack.
Yeah, good point. Right, this one was sent in by Christoph Koenigs. Today, he says, I found the ultimate mega bodge. Now, we've never had a mega bodge on the show before, Chris, so I'm pretty blooming excited about this one. He said this was spotted in front of a store for building materials in Krefeld, Germany. And I tell you what, if we had a category for the mega bodge, this one probably would...
That is a mega bodge.
...be the picture on the front of it. Yeah, I mean...
It's got suspension at the back, rear suspension.
But worryingly, I mean, this looks like it's actually a bicycle that gets ridden. I mean, it doesn't look like it's broken and the owner isn't next to it in a heap. So presumably someone cycled to the shop and is going to cycle away from it.
It's not often that things scare me, Si, but that, I think that is right up there.
It's the forks, isn't it? It's the fact that the forks seem to be made out of kind of inner tubes and...
Yeah, the clue was in the opening phrase for me, mega bodge.
A mega bodge, yeah, our first ever GCN mega bodge.
Oh, I like this one from Whiskey 1867. The bottle holder.
Oh, yes.
Using his wife's elastic ties, to hold his water bottles in. And see how many drinks he's got with him as well.
Whiskey 1867 is a thirsty chap, probably because of all the whiskey. 4 water bottles, but that's actually ingenious, isn't it?
It is good.
You know, sometimes water bottles do bounce out on
colour
pumpy
coordinated
stuff.
as well.
Very nice indeed. Yeah, right, and we're going to finish this one off. This was sent in by Sparky Spice. He says, one for Lloydie. I was having a bit of a clear out and I made some bottle openers out of brake caliper mounts and their bolts. How cool is that?
Hack.
Homemade, I mean, Lloydie doesn't need a homemade like bottle opener when he's desperate, just uses his teeth, but still, look at that. Fantastic, there we go.
You could even use anodized bolts to make it look better.
Ooh, nice. By the way, have you seen the how to open a beer with a mountain bike video?
I have actually, it's really good that.
Well, let's play a little clip as we leave Hack or Bodge for this week. But before we do, just a reminder, obviously the GCN app where you can upload your hacks and bodges, plus, of course, the uploader still, and our hashtag GCN hack. Anyway, here's how to open a beer with a mountain bike.
But what if you're by the side of the trail and don't have anything?
It is time now for Caption competitions, that part of the show where we give you a photo and you have to write a very witty caption, stick it in the comment section down below. The winner, who we pick, depending on how much it's made us laugh, gets a GCN Elite water bottle. Who, Chris, is the winner of last week's competition?
Last week's winner is Paul O'Brien with, hey Bertie, don't look now, but I think the guy beside me is a movie star.
Well,
it made us laugh.
It's not bad, is it? I mean, probably a difficult photo, I guess, because even Lloydie's last week was rubbish, and normally they're okay. But anyway, there you go, Paul. You get a GCN Elite water bottle coming out. I'm going to have a crack this week.
This week is Fabio Jakobsen, isn't it?
Yes.
The Koenig training camp.
Are you ready for this? It's going to be good. Ah, shoot! Get it? A chew? A shoot?
Oh, sigh.
Oh, come on!
If you think you can do better than Si, drop it down in the comments below.
I think 1 or 2 viewers have just had a smirk, at least, at that. A shoot! A shoot!
I don't know if it gets better the more you do it or not.
Shoot! Come on.
I've got a tissue, actually.
Thanks. Before we get on to what is coming up on the channel this week, let us go through some of the amazing comments that you've been leaving under last week's videos, starting with, it was your absolutely mega video where you got to hang out with Elio Viviani, which I'm very jealous about.
That was a good day.
And find out some of his pro training secrets.
Yeah, shall I read it out?
Go for it, mate.
Christopher Dolan, Elia Viviani is low-key one of the coolest figures in cycling. A true Renaissance man who exudes passion for every detail of the sport.
He does, doesn't it? That really came across in that video. He just seems to love riding his bike.
Yeah, and he's a genuine good guy as well. But the best comment I thought underneath that video was from Evan Reeves. I wish my girlfriend looked at me the way Opie looks at Viviani.
I don't know what it means, but there's a smile upon your face, and I see something shimmering in your eyes.
If you met him, you'd understand.
Yeah, it's true that. There was a bit of a crash going on, wasn't there?
A little bit.
Yeah, okay. Right, underneath the 9 bikes that changed the world video, a lot of debate under that one. One cyclist suggested Graham O'Bree's Old Faithful, although because it got banned almost immediately, I don't feel like it changed the world, even though it's an amazing bike.
Yeah.
But a lot of people thinking that the Kestrel 4000 needs to be in there, of which Tor and Donald Rieger said so, because they pointed out it was the first carbon monocoque frame, which is quite an important one, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Maybe that's
quite
the
a landmark
10th. The 10th bike. Yeah.
We need to leave a few for the next video.
That's right. Yeah.
Under the same video, Mark Goldie came up with, still have one of the original TCRs in my garage, owned since new. Should probably get it together and see how it rides these days.
You should. You're sitting on a modern-ish classic there. And then lastly, Nick W said the Brompton folding bike has actually probably changed the shin bones on more commuters than anything else. It's true, actually.
Good for bone density, that.
Yeah, you keep banging your shins on them on trains, don't you? I know what you mean. Right then, what is coming up on GCN this week, Chris?
Coming up on the channel this week, on Wednesday, how to manipulate your nutrition for better training effects. On Thursday, weird but essential tips for globetrotting cyclists.
And then on Friday, Jeremy Powers is going to be bringing some gold from over in the US of A. On Saturday, we have got a video that you shot with Manon. Do cyclists need to go to the gym? Which is quite prescient, actually, isn't it? Given we were just talking about Nino Schurter.
Learned a few things this morning.
Did you? Do you need to go to the gym?
Possibly.
Do you really? Right, okay, there we go. You heard it here first. Right, and then on Sunday, we teased you last week, but it really is time for Bikepacking Patagonia with Mark Beaumont and James Losley Williams.
Well, I've touched down in one of my favourite corners of the planet. In case it kind of butts in here, we've got a sheep just off camera over there. So we've properly come to the wilds. Hello. But that is a volcano. That's what we're meant to be looking at. And a stunning lake in the background. This is the Lake District of Patagonia. So right up in northern Patagonia. The plan is to ride from here in Chile over into Argentina, explore some really beautiful part of the world. I was here about 10 years ago on a bike, and I'm so happy to be back, but I brought a buddy with me. I brought Hank Meister. Have you packed light? Are you ready for this?
I think I'm ready. I'm just getting used to these bags.
Right, that is the end of the GCN show, unfortunately, for this week. A couple of points to note, though, before we do go. Firstly, there's some mega deals going on the GCN shop at the moment, end of season and all that. So if you head over to shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com, you will find them there, of course. And also, we mentioned it earlier, the Global Bike Festival. Now, registration isn't open yet, but pre-registration is, which means that not only will you be the first to know when we drop information on it, you'll also be eligible for an early bird price. So that would be well worth doing.
And right now, if you want to watch another video, why not click through to the Elia Viviani one that I filmed. It's a good one if you've not seen it already.
It is indeed a good one. Please also give this video a big thumbs up.